fucking matter. There's like 4 things that matter, and they really fucking matter. I mean, objectively. I mean, you should care, especially you, if you thought about it for 5 fucking minutes.
Welcome to episode 26 of the Outer Voices podcast. As always, this is Keem and Esmé.
Yay!
We are back at our homes after last weekend's hell of an experience. Great show. We didn't kill each other, though.
Not quite.
Some people, one of us almost did. Surprisingly, not who you would expect. No.
Yeah. We'll just say that I'm glad Keane is still here and to record the podcast with me. I did not murder him. It's true.
I'm glad to be alive.
Sorry about that again, by the way.
No, it's all good. It's all good. It's been a hell of a week news-wise. Which actually plays into our topic section for today, which we'll get to later. But it's been real hard. Like, it was hard this week to try to figure out what news stories I was going to go with, because, man, it's been fucking crazy.
Yeah, it's been. I can't even. It's been too much.
Just utter chaos. My lord.
Yes.
What did you people elect?
No kidding. Anyway.
Should I go? So as we move into our news segment, Esmé, would you like me to go first, or would you like to go first?
My news topic will transition into our topic segment today a little bit, so you should go first.
Okay. Well, since, man, most of this week's news has been downers and ridiculous stuff, I decided to do something that is a little lighter.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. Though the way I'm going to intro it, it's not going to seem so light. So, guys, the robot uprising may be upon us very soon.
Oh, shit.
So there has been... So I'll give you a little background before I get to the story. There's been some butting heads between Mark Zuckerberg, founder of Facebook, of course, and Elon Musk, over the advancement of AI. Zuckerberg and his company has actually been working on advancing AI further, more advanced AI for their social media and just for technology in general. Elon Musk is a big opponent of the advancement of AI because, like many other scientists think, we are at the tipping point of AI advancement, and that if we advance AI much further, it could ultimately lead to destruction of humanity, a la Terminator and The Matrix.
Mm-hmm.
And it's gone from science fiction to an actual concern in the scientific community, because AI is advancing very, very, very fast. So, with this clash between these two billionaires, Zuckerberg and Musk, comes a little hiccup in Facebook's AI research. Mm. So they have decided to shut down AI they had been testing because the AI and another AI had developed its own language.
Yeek.
A language that the human creators could not understand.
Because there's nothing that could go wrong with that.
Exactly. They couldn't decode it. The AI had developed code words between each other that only the computers understood what those code words meant. So, for example, this is the following exchange. The two AI names were Bob and Alice. Bob says, I can, I everything else. And Alice's reply was, balls have zero to me, 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 to. To anyone, that sounds like they're messing up or they're speaking gibberish. They've gone whatever. But as they've watched or whatever, the communication between the two AI has corresponded to the AI's actions, meaning the AI are speaking to each other. In the same way that humans create shorthands and like different slang words, the AI have begun doing the same thing. Which is as from a scientific point of view, it's amazing, scary but amazing. From a linguistic point of view, it would have given us an opportunity to see how languages evolve, how languages come into being. However, if AI are to the point of inventing their own words and own language, they're moving out of the range of artificial intelligence into actual intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
And that also means these AI are learning and developing.
Yeah.
And quickly developing to a point that we can't understand it, which could pose a serious issue for humanity, especially if these AI were put in charge of missile defense systems.
Yeah.
Or cybersecurity. So it's very interesting to see where this could lead, because right now these are just they're lower level chatbots. I mean, you see chatbots on media sites all the time where people just talk to machines and they say things. But this is the first real instance of not only communication between AI, but communication between AI and development of their own language. So, like I said, it could be very interesting for the sake of seeing how technology is going to advance. But I do not fault Facebook's decision to pull the plug on this experiment.
Yeah, right. Like, this is incredibly interesting at an academic level, but we need to be able to know, like, what these machines are doing.
Right. Like, we can't really fuck with things that we can't understand. Mm-hmm. Like, not in this case.
Mm-hmm.
Though science is the pursuit of understanding things that we don't understand. Creating something and then immediately not understanding what it's doing poses a serious problem.
Yeah. Yup.
So yeah, as the rest of the world falls apart just from random human bullshit, now we have the AI apocalypse. So I am ready to bow down to our robotic overlords.
I mean, don't bow down yet.
Well, I mean, I'm not Keanu Reeves. I'm not the one. I can't. I'm a shitty fighter.
Well, let's wait and see if Facebook manages to save the day, because it's about time they did something right instead of just fucking up and being pains in my ass.
That's what I'm worried about. We're screwed. If we're looking for Facebook to save the day on something they created, we are fucked.
Oh shit, man! Facebook can suck it.
They've already left, and we're saying this as our Facebook is our primary means of communication. Hey Zuck, we mean it, but we don't. Don't kick us off because we kind of need you right now. So, hey guy, finger guns. But no, fuck Facebook, man.
Yeah, they can suck it.
Yeah. We got to get on some other social media stuff. We need backup.
Yep, we do.
Anyway, would you care to move on to your story?
So yes, my news topic this week, I skipped right over all of the bullshit that's happening on the national level because I can't even handle that right now. Instead, I went to some bullshit that's happening on the local level, which is that in the early part of this week, ICE agents conducted a series of raids on apartment complexes in the city of Memphis and arrested close to 30 people.
I heard about that.
Yeah. So that's a thing that happened. In the aftermath of that, so I have several acquaintances who are involved in the activism that came out of that, who have been going around and communicating with people who were put in the absolutely awful position of having to lie to these federal agents about that. Like, these agents came in looking for specific people and said, do these people live here? And their neighbors said, no, we don't know who those people are, right? They don't live here. We don't know them. But this is like a horrifying thing, right? To have armed federal agents come in, knocking on doors and looking for people in an apartment complex, right? Families live in these apartment complexes. There were people arrested who have children, small children. There have been, Memphis Police Department is rumored to have been doing traffic stops focused on people who look like they might be Mexican and arresting people who are not documented, right? These are huge thing. Like, this is insane. One of the people that was arrested at an apartment complex didn't even live there. He was there visiting a friend, and the agent stopped him and arrested him, leaving his 2 children who are both under the age of 5 without their dad. Like, this is just insane and horrifying. And in the aftermath of this, there's been one man who is I think they did finally arrest him, who was going around to these same apartment complexes, knocking on doors and telling people who literally just got done dealing with ICE agents, telling them, I know that you're here illegally, I know that you're not documented, and if you pay me, I will help you stay out of the hands of ICE agents, extorting people for protection money.
Jesus.
Yeah, and I think they did finally arrest him. But, and this is not isolated. This is not just in Memphis, obviously.
I mean, and
like,
I was just gonna say, like, as cliche as it sounds just like Nazi Germany.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not even. There's not even like a real difference. It sounds like the Gestapo going house to house looking for Jews in Nazi Germany.
Doesn't it though?
Yeah, exactly. And, like, believe it or not, before these people are sent home, they are sent to camps for processing. Yes,
they're sent to camps for processing. They do not have access to lawyers in many cases. They don't have any. They don't have the same protections that an American citizen has. They're held indefinitely without charges beyond them being here illegally, which is a misdemeanor, by the way.
Of course.
Right? It's not a felony to access the country illegally. It's a misdemeanor. But they're being held indefinitely sometimes in horrific conditions, right? I am not sure what the facility in West Tennessee is like. There's one in Macon, But some of them, notably in Arizona and Texas, are basically just like metal boxes out in the middle of the desert. Like, these are horrible conditions,
Right,
and they're
completely.
being held without any recourse until, like, indefinitely, until their trial comes up.
Completely and totally inhumane.
Yes.
Yet for whatever reason we think this is okay.
We think this is okay. Somebody thinks this is okay.
The majority of the American people are not fighting against it.
That is true.
Let's put it like that.
That is
the
true.
majority of the American people are okay with allowing things like this to go down on American soil.
Yes. And this, so there's a few things that are bothering me extra about this happening in Memphis, right? First off, so there's a group active in Memphis right now called Comunidades Unidas en Una Voz, which is Communities United with One Voice. But they're CUUV, and they're active in the local community. And back when the president was putting out things about this, when the immigrations officers started really kicking up again, they put out a call to Memphis's mayor to declare Memphis a sanctuary city. And he came out and said, we don't need to, because Memphis citizens respect diversity and respect one another and blah, blah, blah. Sure. Yeah. Right? We totally didn't need to make Memphis a sanctuary city, obviously. Right?
And the only reason he said he pulled that bullshit so he could avoid the political thing of becoming a sanctuary city against the wishes of the almighty Führer in chief. And
see, no, here's the thing, though, is that might not be the only reason that he did, because he might legitimately himself believe that people who are in the country illegally should be rounded up and sent to these detention centers until they can be deported. But he's, by saying all of this, Memphis citizens care about one another, blah, 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 is just paying lip service to the people who are outraged at this process, right? But he might legitimately support the process.
No, that's what I was getting at. I was just like, it's his way of both staying in the good graces of the president and trying to pay lip service to the people who are legitimately pissed off for good reason.
Well, but that's what I'm saying, is that there's a third thing there, right? Not declaring Memphis a sanctuary city means that he's not going against the presidential administration. But it also might be something that he legitimately believes in. And then by giving this nice, happy speech, he's trying to pay lip service to the to the anti-deportation activists, right? So there's three things that are happening there. But in any case, so that's a thing. That's a thing that happened.
I think it's interesting how a city founded as a city that served so many years as the median spot between the transportation of we'll go with immigrants of a sort, immigrants that didn't really want to be there. Mm-hmm. Who's claiming that, oh yeah, well, Memphis citizens look out for each other and we support diversity and blah blah blah, and letting this happen. Yeah, like historically, you're just being a dick. You know, it's fucking ridiculous. I'm sorry. It's one of those. It's gotten to one of those issues where it just makes me angry to the point where I can't think straight.
Yeah, it's absolutely ludicrous. There is one bright spot in this, though, at least in the community of Memphis, which is that the schools in Memphis have come out, at least the public schools. I'm not sure how many of the private schools are on board with this also. But the schools in Memphis have come out and said that they will not be turning over any student or parent information to ICE agents.
And good.
Yeah. Yeah, like and that's a huge issue, right? Like if the schools were not to say that, there would be children in the city of Memphis who would not be educated because their parents would be afraid to send them to school. Right.
And schools are supposed to be safe places.
Yes.
And if the schools didn't say that, they wouldn't be safe places. Schools would just be more like just domains of a police state.
Yeah.
Like this is not a world we should be living in.
No,
Once again, we've had fights about this.
Yes.
We've had entire wars where we said this type of stuff is not okay, and these wars weren't too long ago.
Mm-hmm.
But somehow, we're back at square one.
Yeah. This is gross and terrible.
Yeah.
And the worst part, the worst part is that this is just the latest, right? Like, this is just the one that's closest to me, so it's the one that I am upset about. This is the one that is affecting people that I know, right? So this is the one that I'm talking about right now. But this is literally happening in almost every major city in the country, right?
It definitely happened in Jackson a few months back. It was a whole thing.
Yeah, like it's happened in Jackson, it happened in Detroit, it happened in Chicago, right? This has happened everywhere, right? ICE agents coming into apartment complexes, ICE agents stopping people on public transit, right? ICE agents doing all of these things, right? And in some places, the police department is working with them, right? Like the Memphis Police Department is rumored to be like stopping people in traffic stops and then turning their information over to ICE, right? This is happening all over the country. So it does not matter. Like, I am pissed off about this one because I'm in Memphis. If you're also in Memphis, get pissed off about this one. Get pissed off about all of them. If you are someplace else in the country, get pissed off about the one that's happening close to you, because there's one, right? There is a place where people are being rounded up and sent to detention facilities to be deported, right? Being taken away from their families, being taken away from their jobs, being taken away from their educations, their communities, and being held indefinitely in detention centers. And this is absolutely unacceptable. We have to fight against this.
And for all of you who are going, well, they're here illegally and it's not my problem. They shouldn't have been here. No, it is your fucking problem. It's all of our problem. This is something that affects every single person.
Yes. And we have to recognize, part of this is recognizing how much of the foundational labor in our country is done by people who are undocumented. There have been reports from different places in the Southwest of like we're going to have food shortage problems if all these people are deported, right? Because there are, for all of the conservative rhetoric about immigrants coming to the country illegally and taking our jobs, the jobs that a lot of these immigrants are getting, like working in fields, are jobs that Americans don't want.
and jobs that Americans have never wanted, because there was another, because they've been trying to get other people to do these jobs since the beginning.
Yes.
So
right? So there's food rotting in fields because there's nobody there to harvest it, right? And a lot of these people are not taking into account how long how long certain sectors of our economy have relied almost exclusively on immigrant labor. If you deport all of the immigrants right away, our economy is going to collapse, because even if there are enough Americans out of work to cover those jobs, who will take those jobs, right? We cannot make that shift immediately. We can't. That's impossible, right? And there's a good chance that we would not have enough American citizens to cover all those jobs, because we have relied on that section of our labor force of our workforce for so long.
As the play says, Hamilton, by the way, immigrants get the job done.
The play says. Why is it that all the Hamilton fans are so, I don't know.
I was gonna say as the song says, but then I went with the play.
The play.
But
Good God.
But yes, the immigrants are responsible for so much of our country's labor that is needed.
Yes, it's needed. It's essential.
Like what's happening to these people affects your very survival.
Yes.
And I'm sorry, are you gonna get your ass out in the field and do the work? Probably not. You're gonna sit with your stuff and enjoy enjoy whatever you have. But somebody's got to do the work.
No, they're going to spout some bullshit rhetoric about how all of the homeless people should just go work in the fields.
Yeah, all the, especially the injured and disabled veterans and
injured, disabled veterans, elderly, combating severe untreated mental illness,
the runaway teenagers.
Yes.
Yeah, like let's force all the disabled and the mentally ill and teenagers and all the downtrodden of our society. Let's force them into the fields for what is basically slave labor. Yes.
Obviously. That's obviously the solution, right?
Yeah.
Obviously the solution.
Off, man. So yeah, this is a problem that needs to be fought. Like we all need to be sticking up for this.
Yes.
Which I think provides a perfect segue into what we're going to have for our topic section, which is discussion on allies, how to be an ally, and this is another one of our umbrella type podcasts where we will go into deeper stuff.
Yes.
On other shows.
Before we transition, really fast, I want to mention the biggest organization in Tennessee fighting against this kind of mass deportation, fighting for immigrant and refugee rights, is the Tennessee Immigrant and Refugee Rights Coalition. I'm going to bring that up again at the end of the show, but I wanted to bring it up now. And there are groups like this all over the country. So no matter where you are in the country, look up what organization is working in your area and support them. But I'll turn it back to you for our transition.
Our musical guests for the week, Esmé, would you like to introduce them?
Yes. Our musical guest for the week is Jad, who is a local artist out of Memphis, and he is absolutely fantastic. We've got an interview coming up after our topic segment. Again, just like me, I meant to do 10 or 15 minutes, and we ended up with a full half hour of audio from that conversation, but I edited it down for this podcast, but I am hoping to get the full, to make the full interview available to our listeners at some point. I'm working on how best to do that. Thank you to Jad for providing our music for today, and stay tuned for our topic segment.
1, 2
that back at tip tat, roll it up, let's ride. Hold it in and get your grin, face and nails on fleek. Caviar and champagne dreams, rainbows taste so sweet. Just a little bit, oh yeah, I want some more. Feel that beat, yeah, make that scene, sprawl out on the floor. I wanna play, I wanna spit game and live life to the max. Bring that high and make that noise, be a kitty boy like a fact. Oh, hit my backside, my backside, my backside. Oh, hit my backside, me out. Oh, hit my backside, my backside, my backside. Oh, hit my backside, me out. Don't you wanna play? I can be your favorite pussy. Pour me a little something in the dish, make it wet and make it juicy. Don't you wanna play? I can be your favorite pussy. Don't you wanna just scratch my back, me out? I'm a kitty cat. Don't you wanna play? I can be your favorite pussy. Don't you wanna just scratch my back, me out? I'm a kitty cat.
And welcome back to our topic segment. Oh, I said topic, which was weird. Special thanks again to Jad for that. I am still taken aback from the introduction to Jad's music that Esmé showed me or made me listen to.
Didn't I show you the video for pizza?
Yes, my goodness. I'll spread that around too. That was very interesting.
Yeah.
My sister loved it.
I fucking love that song. Song. It's so good.
But yes, we're now moving into our topic segment, and which we'll be discussing allies.
Allies. What a loaded topic.
So, we've been talking about this for a while.
Yes.
But it really came up to me this week with you guys as president. I'm not taking responsibility for this.
Just say, you say that every time.
Yeah, I can't. You guys as president, who tweeted, which it's bullshit, but who tweeted out that he planned to ban trans individuals from the military, citing that they were too much of a burden on our military and provided too much of a distraction, which is complete and utter bullshit, and that's something we can talk about later. But once again, complete and utter bullshit, and also that's not happening. The military has already said they're not about to do that.
Oh, did you hear the rumor?
Oh no, go ahead.
One of the apparently there's a report that in the Pentagon, somebody who works in the Pentagon overheard one of the high-ranking officials go, "Oh, are we taking orders via tweet now?"
Yeah. I knew they weren't going to put up with that. Like, Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, but that comes like even worse when during the campaign, the president stated that he was going to fight for the LGBTQ community more so than his opponent, who was just going to forget them, and did all these things and held up the rainbow flag and came out with everyone's who is apparently the empress of trans people, apparently, according to conservatives, Caitlyn Jenner. But came out and he was this conservative ally for the LGBTQ community, and it's gonna stand with Caitlyn Jenner and her bullshit and all this, and then turns around and since coming into office has done nothing but destroy rights for the LGBT community and proving to be a bullshit ally.
No, not an ally.
You didn't see that? Like, no one could see the air quotes.
Nobody could see the air quotes. But yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
So for those who don't know, Keem, what is an ally?
An ally simply is a person who is not of a particular group, that is, fighting for their rights as humans. But you're not a particular member of that group, but you support them, though you're not part of the group, basically.
Yes. Yeah.
It's simple as that.
Marginalized or oppressed group. I would include that in my definition, right? Like, white people don't need any allies.
Right.
Straight people don't need allies.
But yes, you are not a part of the marginalized or oppressed group, but you support them. Whether on a micro level of providing like emotional and mental support for a member of that group as they struggle, or macro support of going out and protesting and walking with them and being a part of discussions in support of them. That type of thing.
Yeah. So I have a really love-hate relationship with the word ally. Right? So it's like the number one word that's used to talk about people who do this kind of work. But I actually don't really like the word. Partly because probably I'm part of the LGBTQIA plus community. And I give you the whole acronym because lots of people think that the A stands for ally. But it does not. It does not stand for ally, guys. Allies are, by definition, are not part of the community.
Right.
Allies, by definition, are not part of the community. Right? There are several different things that the A could stand for, but none of them should be ally. And I got so freaking annoyed with the Pride alphabet video that came out about a month and a half ago. It was done by... Who was that done by? I don't remember. Done by some organization. And literally, they made A ally, right? So the point of this video was to celebrate all of the different identities and different communities within the LGBTQIA community. And literally the first thing that they did was put straight cis people first. A.
Oh,
in this video celebrating these marginalized identities, they made straight cis people first.
And if you remember that they not only did they put straight cis people first, but they eliminated agendered people, aromantic, asexual, just completely eliminated them from the talk completely, which was complete bullshit.
Oh boy, did you read any comments after that though?
Yeah, remember I was right there next to you.
Yeah, right. So whenever anybody brought up agender people, they said, "Oh well, agender people are trans," right? Which, okay, yeah, but they're also one of the least recognized forms, like one of the least recognized types of trans people. So maybe let's bring them up a little bit. But also then asexual. Asexual people aren't marginalized the way gay and lesbian people are. Bullshit. Oh, yeah. Bullshit. There are apparently a lot of LG, especially LG people who think that asexual people should not be included in the LGBTQIA community. I didn't know that until this video fucking came out, and then I got real upset.
Surprisingly, I did.
That doesn't
because
surprise me.
I have run into that before. Because
but
all people should be sexual and sexualized.
Yes. Right, especially given like the ridiculously shitty toxic narratives around sex and sexuality and relationships, and when are you gonna settle down and find a person, or you just haven't found the right one yet, or what's it like? There's so many fucking horrible toxic cultural narratives about how you're not worth anything until you are in a lifelong romantic relationship. Bullshit. Right. And you say that asexual and aromantic people are not stigmatized? Fuck you. I say as a very sexual person, fuck you.
But getting back on subject.
Sorry.
But yeah, this was the things that brought up our wanting to discuss our allies.
Yes.
So I don't know where to start first. I'll start with when you get a lot of and coming off of the Trump's thing, this bullshit thing, of course.
Wait, can you go back? Skype cut out for a second.
Oh. Said going back to Trump's thing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start talking a little bit about false allies. Because we're in a political and social hotbed right now. Because of the administration, a lot of things have been happening over the past couple of years with the police shootings, the violations of just about every marginalized group's rights at this point.
Yeah.
We are riled up, as we should be. But with that, we also have a lot of people who fake like they're on your side to get attention, to be part of the crowd. It's always interesting when Facebook is the gauge of this. When something happens, people you see who on a normal day don't say anything about support for whoever.
Yeah.
When something happens, when everyone is super fired up, suddenly they want to put their hat in the ring for how they were always so supportive and blah blah blah. Or I'm gonna change my Facebook to this flag or whatever, or this thing. But in the same vein, you were just talking over here about how you were tired of FAGs, because I'm not saying that word.
I always just call it the F slur.
Yeah. You tired of these blah 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 out here doing this, or man, this black guy at work always starting shit, and I just wish he would just go back to Africa or some shit. Like, oh, you just said that yesterday, but today you're all of a sudden, now that everybody else is doing what is outraged, oh, you're right behind it. No, fuck off, dude. I get tired of this social media quote unquote activism that only appears when fair weather activism. That's what I'm looking. That's what I'm looking for. That you're only an ally when everyone else is fired up.
Yeah.
That's some bullshit. And we've all seen it. We've all seen it, and maybe, I don't know how many of our listeners are out there, but some of you probably do it.
Yeah. So that's one thing, but in my, like, that's one way to be a shitty ally, right?
Oh no, I was just starting. Like that's just the top layer of the crab bucket of death. But go on.
Oh, I was gonna say even worse than that, though. I think is quote unquote allies who it's not just fair weather allyship, right? Where you only are just jumping on the bandwagon, right? Of like everybody's fired up about this thing, so I'm going to be fired up about the thing too. And then as soon as it cools off, I'm going to leave it alone again and go back to saying my racist, homophobic things, right? But there's another thing that's related, but not totally the same. Of so quote unquote allies out there looking for their cookies,
Right.
Do you know about the cookies?
I think I can figure it out, but go on.
So it's a thing that you hear sometimes, where you're talking about allies who are only looking for cookies, right? Where allies who will go into the spaces of these marginalized communities saying all the right things, saying blah, 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 I support you, blah, 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 doing this, blah, blah, blah. And then when members of this marginalized community don't react with the expected level of like gratitude, this so-called ally will say, oh, you should be nicer to me because I'm taking up for your cause. And then if they get called out on how bullshit that is, this ally will say, well, the reason nobody cares about your cause is because you should be nicer to people who are supporting your cause, and screw you, I'm out, basically, right? To where they are only their primary motivation, whether they realize it or not. This is something that happens. This is insidious because it happens subconsciously too, right? Like you're not always aware that you're doing this. Is going into these places looking for your praise, right? But I forget where I was going with that. But yeah, you're not always an ally. Somebody who wants to be an ally is not always aware. I find myself doing this. I don't know if you know. I am not afraid to admit that I sometimes do this with regards to marginalized communities that I'm not a part of. I'll go in and say things and blah, blah, blah. And then I have to like stop myself from bragging about it to members of that marginalized community, hoping that they will tell me that I'm doing a good job. Right.
Right.
If you are a true ally, your motivation for doing the things that you do is because it's the right thing to do, not because you think somebody will tell you that you're doing a good job. Right.
Right.
If, there's a meme that goes around every time something falls out, right? Where it basically says, bless you.
Sorry.
It basically says if you're not really an ally if you think that people of a marginalized community should be nicer to you, right? If you will only support these people's rights if they're nice to you, right? You should support these people's rights because it's the right thing to do, because they're humans and they deserve human rights, not because members of this community are nice to you.
Right.
Right. People of a marginalized community are well within the bounds of their rights and within the bounds of reasonable human behavior to be suspicious of people from outside that community coming in saying that they're fighting for you, right? If you have a problem with people criticizing you or people being suspicious of your intentions when you're coming in from outside of the community trying to help, they have a really good reason for doing that, right? Marginalized communities have had incredible problems since the beginning of time with people coming in from outside the community, claiming to be helpful, right? Claiming to want to work for the community and then promoting things that are really, really toxic for that community, right? So these communities are well within the bounds of reasonable behavior to be suspicious of people from outside coming in and saying that they want to help. If you have a problem with that, it's your problem. It's not their problem.
Right.
You need to still be committed to helping. Be committed to doing the work that is needed. Not doing the work that you think is needed, which we'll get into, I'm sure, but do the work that's actually needed for that community.
And actually, since we're on this subject, I want to also talk about the flip side of that.
Mm-hmm.
In response of, in regards to actual so there will be people who are trying to be actual allies. They are doing it because it's the right thing to do. But also in a lot of our marginalized groups, and I see this a lot. I see this a lot in Black activism, especially. We have closed ranks so much that we don't accept any allies. That no one from the outside, and I mean no one. Like, this is not just talking about like Black people not trusting white people as outsiders. This extends as far as Black people not trusting other Black people who are LGBTQ, IA plus, or Black people not because they are a part of another group as well as being Black, or hell, even going as far as Black Latinx and light-skinned and dark-skinned. We've gotten to a point where, not gotten to a point, it's always been there, but there is a lot of back and forth of on whether to accept any kind of alliance. And which is a problem. It's a big problem, because while it is very logical, as you stated, it's very logical to be wary of anyone saying they're on your side.
Yeah.
Especially if they're in an outside group. Especially if they're from an oppressor group.
Yes.
It is very logical for you to not trust them. On the other hand, you are in a fight that we cannot win alone.
Yeah.
Black people especially, African Americans, we make up 13% of the population. It may be up since the last time I checked it, but I think it was hovering around like 13, 14%. With that, man, we can fight all we want. We can try whatever we want, but if you don't have allies on your side, 13% is not going to do much. And that's if all 13% of the Black population was out there advocating for our human rights, and that is not the case.
Yeah.
So, like, that's something we have to work on the other side of things. Allies are something that's needed. And also, honestly, we need people that are in their spheres of influence. To combat white privilege, sometimes you need a little white privilege on your side.
Yes.
Like,
right.
you need
There has been, I'm trying to think, recently I read that somebody was writing about that, where you cannot change the system from outside the system.
Right.
you have to dismantle it from the inside in order to do it. Otherwise, the people, the what's the word I'm looking for? The caretakers, right? The keepers of the system will just throw up the defenses and nothing will change, right? It's perceived as an attack from the outside. If somebody within the system starts dismantling it, that's where the change is going to happen.
Exactly. So having allies, like I said, not just with black people, but in other oppressed groups, it's needed. Like, these are bonds that are needed. So we have to start working on, while being like you. I'm not saying let everybody in. Don't let everybody in your circle. Don't. You judge very carefully. You be very observant to see who is on your side. And if they are truly on your side, let them be on your side.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was my little thing.
But now, I think it's time to take, as important as it is for people within marginalized communities to let people be on their side, the burden here belongs to the people who are not part of the marginalized community.
Very
right?
true.
Right. It's really shitty to put the burden of accepting allies on marginalized people. Right.
Right.
To accept anybody who claims to be an ally and who claims to want to help. Because the reality is that there's a lot of shitty ways, a lot of shitty things that people do under the umbrella of allyship that are the reason that marginalized people are suspicious of people who come into their spaces and claim to be allies, right?
So let's talk about a few things. Let's talk about a few things about let's talk about a few ways to, be a good ally and not do shitty things. If you're trying, like if you're legitimately trying to be an ally, what are some things that you should and should not be doing?
Listen!
Right off the bat.
Shut your damn mouth and listen to the people that you claim to be in solidarity with. Seriously.
You are not the expert on their struggles. You do not get to decide how they feel. If they are telling you something, listen to it.
Yes.
If you're an ally and you see if there's a Black Lives Matter rally that gets out of hand, well, not out of hand, that escalates.
Yeah.
We'll go with that. That escalates. You don't get to go, well, they shouldn't have done that. They should have just kept it peaceful. Or if you are claim to be an ally and you're talking with your black friend, I get this a lot because I am militant as fuck.
That is true, yes.
If no one has gotten anything from this podcast, I am militant. I am not a very peaceful minded person. I am not one of the people who go, we can just resolve everything peacefully. And I actually posted this on Facebook earlier, saying that hate, the phrase that hate can't conquer hate, or being that is subtle gaslighting, because you are saying that people that are being oppressed can't be angry. They can't hate what's being done to them. They can't be angry about it, and that's bullshit.
Yeah.
So as I'm saying, I'm very militant. I run into this a lot with friends and allies going, "Hey, well, you shouldn't be so angry about this, or you probably shouldn't be so militant about that." But you don't get to tell me how to feel about being oppressed.
Yeah.
You don't. What you go is, man, this is what I say. You go, it may not work for other people, but I say, man, I I may not be for. I may not agree with what you're saying. I may not agree with you wanting to go punch somebody in the face, but I get how you feel.
Yeah.
Or even if I don't get how you feel, you are fine feeling that.
Yep.
It's also okay, allies. It is also okay to go, I don't get it. It is okay to go, I don't get it. In a lot of cases where I've gotten rid of friends over issues, where they keep trying to explain to me how I feel, how I should feel, or that they don't see they don't get it, and I should be feeling something else. What they should have just done should have just said was, I don't get it. I don't understand where you're coming from. Because especially when in the white-black thing, coming from me personally, a lot of white people won't get it because they don't have to. It's the privileged part of being privileged. You don't have to get it.
Yeah.
Like, you have been able to live a life where you don't get it, and that's great for you. But there are issues that we deal with as marginalized groups that we are very angry about. And you can just say you don't get it. I don't understand it. I have not had this life experience. But you also need to say that it's okay for you to feel that. Don't talk down to someone. You talk down to someone when you say that, because that is very easy to do.
No, that sounds super. I just had an emotional reaction to the way you said that just then, because that sounds patronizing as fuck.
That's what I'm saying.
Right?
That's what I'm saying. You have to. You also have to, that's why I was saying it may not work the same way, because.
Yeah, no, don't say it's okay for you to feel that way unless the person that you're talking to is having distress of some kind over their emotions. I don't know. Say, I don't understand how you feel, right? I have never experienced the things that you were experiencing. But
your feelings are not wrong.
Yeah, your feelings aren't wrong. Your feelings are valid. However you feel about the things that you are experiencing, those feelings are valid.
Very right.
Oh.
You're so much better at putting things the way I'm trying to put it, but fail.
It's because you're too angry, Keem.
Yeah. But it's
okay for you to be angry.
Right. So yes, as I'm saying, you don't get to tell people how to feel. If you're an ally or friend, you don't get to tell other people how to feel. Yeah. And how to respond.
So there's more to what I was saying when I said listen, right? That's part of it, right? Okay. Listen to people when they tell you how they're feeling, and don't try to reinterpret that for them. Also, listen to people within marginalized communities when they tell you what the community needs.
Right.
Do not come into a space for a community who is marginalized in ways that you are not, and try to tell them what they need. Because you don't know.
Like coming into the black community and going, you just need more strong family units.
Right. Exactly.
Come on.
Or going into spaces where homeless people are organizing themselves and saying, well, you just all need to get jobs. No, they don't. Jobs is not the first step. Jobs is a great step, but they also, in order to get a job and in order to sustain employment, need a safe place to sleep. They need access to like amenities. They need assistance getting documentation. They need mental and physical health care in order to be able to sustain employment. Like,
do you know one of my favorite responses that people do?
Huh.
I just think I support who you are, but I just think what you do sexually should just be kept in the privacy of your own bedroom.
See also list of reasons I'm in the closet. Fuck.
Exactly. I hear that one so much when it comes to the LGBTQIA plus community.
Yes. Right. Also, this happens with regards to, right, like with regards to LGBTQIA people a lot. But I imagine that it also happens sometimes within different racial communities, right? Where you're lucky that you can pass as X, right?
Right.
I have a lot of people. I've had conversations with people online, not in real life, thank God, who think that I should be grateful that even though I'm bi or pan or whatever I feel like identifying as today, I don't know, because I'm polysexual, I should be grateful though because all of my relationships are with men. And so it's really easy for me to appear straight. And so I don't, quote unquote, experience oppression for the gender of my partners. Except no, because Morgan and I talked about this in our episode on bisexuality, right? Like, people reading me as straight is still erasing my sexual identity. It's still a form of oppression.
Right.
And so I'm not lucky that I pass as straight so easily, because that just makes it even harder for me to come out and be honest and visible about who I am. So,
very true.
But yeah, so listen, right? Do not come into a space and talk over the people who are in that space and assume that you know their own experiences better than they do. Listen to what they need, right? Do not come into a space where people are organizing for their own liberation and insist on your interpretation of what their struggles are, right? Insist that you know better than they do what the community needs.
And this brings me to my next thing on how to be a good ally or how to not be a shitty ally. Mm-hmm. Do not come into spaces without an invitation.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, live on vampire rules. Don't come through the doorway unless you're invited.
Yes.
Like, you do not get to come into a marginalized group's discussions or this marginalized group space and barge in and join the conversation.
Black Lives Matter is not being racist when they don't want white people in their organizing meetings. Because see also the other things we were talking about, right? White people love to come into spaces and insist on their own interpretation of things. No, let the marginalized people decide amongst themselves what needs to be done, and then when they've decided and are ready to let you in on that conversation, show up for that. Let them tell you what needs to happen.
I see it so many times. It could be a black group having their meeting to discuss thing, and somebody going, "Oh, well, they want to allow us into the meeting. They're being just as bad as the racists," or with providing a space for women. I remember when Wonder Woman came out last month, and the Alamo Drafthouse did a special screening, a special women's screening for Wonder Woman, and people lost their shit.
Yeah. This
is not your space. You do not need to come into it. Unless they say, come into it.
Yes.
It's okay. Like marginalized groups deserve their own spaces. We live in a world where we are defined and controlled by oppressive peoples.
Yes.
And we need our spaces.
Yes.
We need them because sometimes that's all we have. You don't get to just You don't get to be offended when we tell you not to invade them.
Yeah.
And you don't just get to come in without someone without you being invited in.
Yeah.
I see this a lot in the black and this. So I'm a member of a Black atheist group on Facebook. It's a very large group.
Mm-hmm.
I also create and admin a Black nerds group, and it has come up a lot. On one hand, people going, why are there white people in these groups when they're supposed to be black groups? And then on the other side, white people going, why can't we say this in this way? Why aren't our feelings being addressed?
Yeah.
And I've managed to nip it in the bud in the group I admin, but in the other, it gets seriously out of control.
Mm-hmm.
But in the Black atheist group, the white people that are in there, they're invited in there. They're usually brought in by other black members of the group because they believe in what they say. They believe they should be there. They will make the group stronger.
Yeah. So we're running up against what we have budgeted for time, right?
Yeah.
So there's one more thing though that I want to say before we transition into the interview with Chad that I think needs to be said over and over and over and over and over again, because this is by far the number one thing that I argue with people about when it comes to allyship. And I say this as a person who works toward being in solidarity with communities that I am not a member of, and as somebody who is a member of a marginalized community, and who has a lot of people in my life who attempt to be in solidarity with my community. This is the number one thing that I argue with people about allyship, which is it does not matter who this person is to you, this member of a marginalized community, right? This LGBTQIA person, this black person, this immigrant person, whatever. It does not matter who this person is to you. If they're somebody that you work with, or somebody that you just met, or your fucking intimate partner who you've been with for years. It does not matter who this person is. It is not their job to educate you. Go out and fucking educate them. Educate yourself. A lot of people, especially if there's somebody who's important in your life, a lot of them will work with you, will educate you, but they are not required to.
Mm-hmm.
They are not required to, right? It's okay to ask, but it's not okay to expect it. And if it's somebody that you just met, probably don't ask unless you're in a space that's explicitly there. Like if you met them at a meeting where the goal was to talk about this community, right? Maybe then it's okay. But do not expect people who are within a marginalized community to educate you on demand. There are people all over the internet who are writing about marginalized communities, marginalized identities, what these communities need, what allies can do to support the black community or the LGBTQIA community or trans community or whatever.
Immigrant community, yeah.
Huh?
The immigrant community.
Yeah, the immigrant community, refugee communities, the Muslim communities, the atheist communities. There are thousands and thousands of people on the internet writing about these things. Fucking Google it before you go put that burden on somebody that you just met, right? Oh, I heard that you're trans. Do you mind telling me everything about your life experience? No, don't fucking put that on somebody. Go and fucking educate yourself. That's the number one thing that I argue with people about, right? People come into these communities and they say, oh, well, if you really expect me to care about your cause, you should be willing to have that conversation with me right now, while I'm asking you about it. No, that's not how that works.
Exactly.
Fucking Google it. So.
Which that speaks to some other issues I have with certain things in civil rights that I will discuss later.
Yes, this is the first in several episodes where we're going to be talking about how to be a bad ally versus how to be a good ally.
Yeah. This is just the start, and if anybody who's listening wants to weigh in, and especially on the direction of our next shows in the future on this subject, please let us know, and we will have you on or talk about what you suggest.
Yes, we will happily talk to you about anything. Let us know if you want to be on our show.
All right, I think that's the end of our topic segment. Which I think went great. Now we're going to move into the interview with Jad, and then onward to Esmé's sex segment.
Yay!
Which is going to be talk about one of my favorite things. So it's gonna be fun.
Yay! Stay tuned. Coming up next is my interview with Jad. Thank you again to Jad for being on the show, for letting me talk to you, and for providing our music for this week. You're fantastic, and I look forward to seeing what you have coming out next. So, stay tuned for Jad.
Pizza on my mind all the time, in my throat. Put it in my mouth, shove it down till I choke. Got that love supreme, like a deep dish dilemma. Go on, stack them boxes high. Make me feel just like a winner. Slam dunk.
Hi, I'm Jad. I am a Memphis artist, and actually, when I moved to the city, I was doing a lot of fashion and modeling stuff, and we used to do these fashion shows called Revolutionary Runway. And so I did that for maybe about 3-4 years, somewhere around there. And then after that, I was just like, well, the industry's mean. And so I was like, maybe they won't be as mean in music. And, of course, that was completely wrong.
I mean, you were optimistic.
I was trying to be. But, so I found people in my network and just went from one category to another. And it was kind of cool because the communities allowed me to carry everything over as far as who I was and what I did. But it's very interesting because when you introduce a musician to a market, none of that shit even exists. You might as well just be starting completely over.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm at right now. I'm on maybe my third project, and it's really fun. I'm getting a great response this time around because this time around I was a little more honest in terms of my expression and where I was coming from artistically, because I'm not so serious, which is funny because I listen to so much Tool and Manson and Rob Zombie, but when I write, it's not like that. So I had to find that place of where I as Jad was going to speak from. And this last collection where we've tapped into something. It's like, when you're developing in the studio, you keep going until you find something that's different. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what this was. We were like, oh, because I won't lie. My producer is a white, cis, straight male. And so I'm very lucky to have somebody that's like, but what if you did this? And is able to reference my culture without having to compensate for it. I don't have to do that in the studio. So it was very cool because at first when I entered music, I did that to myself. Because, we come from the 2000s. Things are just now changing, guys.
Yeah.
It's just now changing. So you compensate when you step into a new room full of old money. And so you have to like kind of, you lose yourself a little bit in that because you're trying to give them what you think they want. And then you don't realize that what they want your innocence. That is what they want.
Yeah.
That is what they want. They want that natural, that genuine personality. They want to eat it, they want to bottle it, and then they want to sell it. So
that's bleak.
well, that's where I'm at now,
Yeah.
that I found the jad in the bottle.
that people want to buy.
Yeah, well, I mean, they respond differently when you find yourself.
Yes.
Because when I did my last project, I was still, I'm a very flamboyant personality, and I mean that in terms of proper definition. I'm very flamboyant as a person, and it's because I'm just very expressive and cartoony, and I grew up on anime. But
many of our listeners also did.
Right? So, I mean, like everybody, I'm sure everyone listening to them can relate on where I get my dramatics from as far as like personal characteristics and stuff. Because that's, I grew up from that culture. We, if you were an outcast, more than likely you were into anime and goth subculture when I was growing.
Yeah.
So, and I fell into both of those categories. So, now like I said, this last time we did this music, and it was cool because we did rock and I didn't talk about sexual orientation. And, the thing about being LGBT and writing music, you don't have to talk about who you're having sex with for it to reference the culture.
Yes.
And people, I don't think, understand that the culture is more than who people who are LGBT are sleeping with. And because, I mean, when you think about Paris is Burning, I watched that documentary and it touched my white cis male soul, okay? It was so enlightening. And it's not to degrade anybody on where they stand in life, but it never hurts to just understand perspective. And so this time around, I tried to offer my perspective of where I come from in my culture. And, it's a lot of drag euphemisms and it's, there's a lot of black gay culture in there also. It's just very much a melting pot of the LGBT culture for me. And so that's why I think people this time around have responded differently. I've done a couple of features. I've been interviewed by 2 magazines so far. And I mean, this is only my second single on this collective, but it's really exciting because people want this. They don't want you to compensate and pretend anymore. Now they're like LGBT is this new market. What can you bring to the table?
Yes, sell us all of the things, please. Finally, somebody is doing that.
They don't have kids. Take all their money.
Exactly. But yeah, it sounds like you're about to blow up. Is what it sounds like.
Well, no. What is blowing up?
I know, right?
Well, I mean, and I think this is something that any listener or anybody with a dream needs to hear is that you don't want to count, you have to count your failures. You cannot get anywhere without recognizing how important failing is. Because you have to be able to fail. Because even the most calculated thing in our existence is a missile strike. And for a missile strike, for it to be as calculated as it is, has to miss the perimeter 7 times. And so in that missing 7 times, it maps out its calculations. And so I think that people listening, the idea of blowing up cannot happen unless you yourself have made that crossover. And and it's kind of bittersweet as an artist, because it's ironic even. That in order to cross over into that status, you have to become it first. And to become it, you have to become numb and blind to it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And so I'm kind of at that weird point where I'm like, whatever, I already am. and it's changing the way I get ready, the way I go out, the way I carry myself. So it's very interesting. So I can tell that should I one day make it to a higher platform, I'll probably be blind to it by the time I get there, to be completely honest.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something people should consider when they're stepping into the pipe dream world.
Yeah.
You know, because I mean, the chances are, but you know, for people like me or for people in LGBT, the biggest thing right now is not about popping off. It's not about getting big. And while it's mostly about visibility.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as I am somewhere located in the South where this is not a thing, there is some child, and I've gotten these messages from parents, there is some child that is looking at me saying, hey, I can do that. And that kid might be the next Bowie. That kid might be the next Michael Jackson, or that kid might even be the next Prince or Boy George or whoever. But the thing right now is just making sure that you're visible, and that when somebody says they want to ask you questions, you say, yeah, let's do this. Let's talk about it.
Yeah. Yes.
And so that's kind of what I'm doing right here. You know, this is candid. Some people are just too into themselves. They take themselves too serious, and they just got to remember that we're not the future. We have to make the future. And so I think that the way to do that is by reaching out to people and being okay to talk about things, because we got to. It's just the only way. We're not going to be able to like insert a microchip to get people to understand.
Yeah.
So they got to listen.
I want to ask if you have any other stuff coming up. You said that you have a new thing out.
Well, so right now where Jad is at is in this interesting development point. See, I used to go on the stage and I used to perform and I was used to the stage, but to be honest, I, as a unsigned indie artist, got more attention by generating online content.
Mm-hmm.
So I left the stage. And now some people, you know, don't really get that, and that's okay. Some people would even say that I am exploiting music by not doing that. And, you know, I would tell them to eat a bag of dicks, really. But really, I don't know. Is cussing acceptable here?
Oh, hell yes. Hell yes.
Yes. Okay, cool. So, I mean, for me, I get a lot of online content done. And so right now where I'm at is I'm pushing the single Pizza, which is currently the single. And I just released a video. And for a minute there, I got a little depressed because I went viral with my video and they took away 100,000 views.
Oh.
They took away because they updated the system, and their words to me were, your views did not last past what we want for you to keep them. That means I only got watched for about 20 seconds versus 30 seconds, which for me, 10 seconds is fucking great. So why would you do that? But it's okay. It doesn't mean that they took away that out of their brains. People saw it. So
yeah.
It made it splash, and that was fun. And so now radio is where I'm at with it right now. And so I'm waiting to get emails back, which I've been getting them back. I have to send off a couple CDs. So this is I'm at a distribution point for my second single off the collective. And then it'll be time to start getting ready for my third one, which will be Kitty Boy, which will close out this collective. I didn't want to focus on this collective just too much.
Yeah.
Because we found it. Now the objective is to take it back into the studio and make a whole album with Pizza and Kitty Boy. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because after we made the collective, we went through it and we're like, okay, this is where we really need to work on next because this has something. And so Kitty Boy and Pizza were those from this collective. And so now I've written 14 songs. I'm trying to get up to 20 songs. If I can get 20 songs with that quality of approach, we can pick the 5 best ones and that should speak highly professionally.
Yeah. Because it's just oddly appropriate. Who, in your opinion, makes the best pizza in Memphis?
Oh, no. Oh, you tricked me. I've been had. Okay, so look. Oh, man. Oh, man. Okay, so look. I am a pizza slut, okay, as we know. And I like to put all of it in my mouth. It's really good. But I have to tell you my favorite, okay? And nobody's going to know who the fuck I'm talking about, but it's okay because it just really was. But there is this bar in Midtown, and it's called Canvas.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was this cook there named Sabrina, and I don't know if she's still there, but she would make the most awesome, like, flatbread pizza. Now, that's flatbread pizza directly in Midtown. Now, pizza, okay.
Yeah.
Olympic Steakhouse. And it's out there in Millington, but it's so perfect. Like, it's like right there on the outskirts of the 901, but it's still in the 901.
Yeah.
So good. It's like when you pull the slice up, all the cheese like drapes from it. It's so legitimate. It's so legitimate.
Just give me that.
Welcome back, and thank you one more time to Jad for our music and for such a great interview this week. And now it is time for my sex segment, and we are talking about lube.
Lube!
I love lube! Guys, lube is great. If you don't use lube, go buy you some lube, because you need it. But listen to the rest of the sex segment first so that I can tell you what kind of lube that you should probably buy and the kind that you should definitely not buy. Keane, take a trip down memory lane with me, all the way back to the years ago when you started having sex. What kind of lube did you buy?
Oh my God!
What was the first lube that you bought? Do you remember?
I think it was that really cheap, shitty lube. The first lube I bought, anyway.
Yeah. Do you know what the first lube I bought was? I remember it. I was a senior in high school. I remember it.
What was it?
Astroglide. I bought Astroglide. Guys, don't buy Astroglide. So, lube, for those of you who live under a rock and don't know anything about sex, lube is a category. It's a category of products, basically, that increase, like, or that can help decrease friction between body parts, and make sex more comfortable. Can supplement natural lubrication if you're doing PIV. Or doing any sort of sexual act to somebody with a vulva, can provide lubrication where there is none, like if you are doing hand stuff to a penis or doing butt stuff, right? Anal sex, you need lube. But lube is a category of products that provide the similar function, right?
Right.
There are lots and lots of kinds of lube out there. Lots of people's introduction to lube is Astroglide, or what's the other one that you can buy at the drugstore? I don't remember. I bought that one once too. And those are the most common. There's only a few kinds that you can find at the drugstore, and almost all of them are terrible for you. But we're going to talk about why in just a second. So, do you know what the kinds of lube are, Keane?
Water-based.
There's water-based.
Oil-based.
And
Silicone base.
Yes, silicone. And then lately, we've been seeing more and more on the market. There's hybrid lubes that offer benefits of multiple different kinds of lube. Right. So there's like water and silicone hybrid lubes. I've seen water and oil hybrid lubes. Different kinds that are available. And each of these different kinds of lube has a different has different characteristics and therefore different benefits and some drawbacks. So one of the most straightforward is oil-based. You don't see a lot of oil-based lubes on the market, although there are some people, myself included, who really like coconut oil as lube. Oil-based lubes are typically last a long time. Like the lubrication quality of it lasts for a long time, unless you get using straight coconut oil. Coconut oil has a tendency to absorb into the skin after a little bit of time, so you have to reapply a little bit more than you would with an oil-based, like a lube. But oil-based lubes are typically really good for your skin. They make your skin nice and soft, even softer than it is otherwise. With drawbacks for oil-based, first off, make sure you cannot use just massage oil, right? That's got stuff in it that's going to make your bits hurt. Don't use those. Right? Maybe if you're using it on a penis, that might work out. Maybe. I'm not a doctor, don't take my recommendation. But putting that on a vulva, that's a recipe for ouchiness, probably. But what's the drawback for oil-based condom scheme? Or oil-based lube?
Don't they like dissolve condoms?
Yeah, oils degrade latex.
Right.
Right. So it won't dissolve necessarily, but it will degrade it to the point where it will break very, very easily, which you don't want. Sort of defeats the purpose of wearing a condom. But if you are using pretty much any kind of toy anymore, unless your toy is made of latex rubber, right? If you're using a toy made of latex rubber, you cannot use oil-based lube. But if you're using silicone or plastic or glass or metal or wood toys, you can use oil-based lube or straight up coconut oil with no ill effects. Or if you have a partner with whom you do not use condoms, that you are fluid bonded with, you can go ahead and use oil. Or if you are committed that day to only doing manual sex, right, only hand sex, go ahead and do that. I've done that and it's fantastic. So that's oil-based lubes. Silicone lubes can be made of a lot of different types of silicone. Silicone lubes are typically very long-lasting. They don't absorb into the skin very readily. They don't dry out. One complaint about silicone lubes is they do sometimes feel kind of greasy. And also they don't wash off easily, right? Even with soap and water, you're probably going to have some film left behind. It's going to feel weirdly greasy for a day or for a few hours. Which doesn't bother me all that much, but it bothers some people a lot. Go ahead.
I would say it also probably could if you you care about your sheets, it also could probably not the greatest thing for your sheets.
I've never had a problem with it really staining my sheets in any lasting way. Have you?
Yeah, actually.
Oh, weird.
Yeah.
All right. But yeah, so if you're concerned about stains on your sheets, be advised. But one thing to note about silicone lube is that it can, depending on what your toy is made out of, can cause damage to silicone toys. This is something that's still thrown around everywhere, right? Any website where you go to buy a sex toy, any site that reviews sex toys, basically everywhere says this. Although this, as the quality of silicone toys has increased dramatically in the last few years, this has become less and less of a problem because certain types of silicone curing processes, certain types of manufacturing processes, certain formulations of silicone that are more in use now are way more resistant to this kind of degradation. So if you have a high-end silicone toy, it's probably gonna be okay. There are some places where you can go. I think Smitten Kitten does it. Dangerous Lily, I think, does it too, where they will test silicone lubes on silicone toys in various combinations to see if it causes damage. I think Dangerous Lily has a guide on how to do it yourself. I think Smitten Kitten might too have a guide on how to test it yourself. If you have a silicone toy and you want to use a silicone lube instead of a water or oil-based lube with it, you can test it on the base. Just take a little smear of the lube that you want to use and put it on the base of your toy and leave it for a few hours. And then you can check it afterwards, wash it off, and see if there's been any changes to the texture of the toy. And then you can test and see if that lube will react with that toy. Obviously, test every different lube that you're going to use with it. But like I said, with most high-end toys now, you should be fine, right? I've not had any problems with the silicone lube that I use, which is System Joe, although I'm planning on changing back to another kind, which I'll talk about in a minute. But I've not had any problems with that reacting with my Vicks Skin toys or with my Tantus toys, or with my Fun Factory. I've not had any reactions with those. But your mileage may vary. I'll say that. Be wary of using silicone lube and silicone toys, but it's not a death sentence for your toy if you get silicone lube on it. One thing to note with silicone lubes, especially if you're dealing with silicone toys that you think might react, is that all of the lube in lubricated condoms is silicone lube. Fun fact. Did you know that, Keane?
I actually did.
Did I tell you that?
No, actually, I just knew it. I've read the condom box before.
Nice. But yeah, lubricated condoms. Most condoms are lubricated. It's actually, I have found out, quite difficult to find non-lubricated condoms. But almost all condoms that you find are lubricated, and all lubricated condoms use silicone lube. So be aware. If you are planning on using a condom on a toy that you think might react to it, test that. Test that shit. So silicone lube. The last kind is water-based lube, and this is easily the most complicated type of lube. For one, there's an incredible number of different formulations of water-based lube. They all use different ingredients. Some of the ingredients are not good for you. There are so many things to pay attention to when you're paying attention to water-based lube. Oil and silicone-based lube, they have different formulations. As long as, oil-based lube I don't use, so I'm less aware, and it's less available, so I'm less aware of what to pay attention to with that. Silicone lube, there's different kinds of silicones that are used, but they all react to the body in basically the same way. So there's not going to be a lot of variation there. But with water-based lube, there are so many things that you need to pay attention to. The first thing that you need to pay attention to is glycerin and parabens, both of which there have been studies done on both of them, and there's not a lot of conclusive evidence on it. They've shown correlation with glycerin and parabens with different kinds of like irritation, specifically in people with vulvas, right? It screws up the environment. I personally have a problem if I use lube that has glycerin in it. I have a tendency toward yeast infection, which is a bummer, right? Like, I just thought that I didn't get along well with lube, and so I never used lube. Turns out I was just using kinds that had glycerin in it, and it always made me itchy, and I always had to be medicated for it, and it sucked. So if you have chronic problems with lube, that's something to pay attention to. It's not a guarantee that you'll react badly to it, but it is something that has been shown. There's been correlation shown between different kinds of irritation and glycerin and parabens, so be aware. Another thing that you need to pay attention to is pH, especially when you're dealing with lube for different kinds of sex, right? So the vagina and the rectum both have a pH balance, but it's different. And the health of both of those parts of a body kind of hangs on not screwing up the pH, right? If you screw up the pH in a vagina, you're going to have problems with bacterial vaginosis or with yeast infections. Screwing up the pH of a rectum can screw with digestive systems, can cause irritation. So be aware. If you go to Smitten Kitten's Guide to Lube, I think they have it on badvibes.com. They have a guide, a range of lube where they tested the pH of all these different kinds of lube. If you want to get really, really geeky about it, you can do your own. You can go get some litmus paper and do your own test, right? These are things that you can do. But just be aware, like you might not be able to use one water-based lube for sex, for anal sex, and for sex with a vulva, right? Because the pH of them are different, and they might need different things. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you're just being
At least
very
to me,
quiet,
anyway.
huh?
I'm being educated is what I'm doing.
You're being quietly educated. It's making for really bad radio. But by far the thing that there's the last big thing that you need to pay attention to with water-based lube that nobody pays attention to, like hardly anybody knows anything about, is osmolality.
Say that again in English.
Osmolality, right? Which goes back to osmosis, right?
Right.
Water moving in and out of things, right? So osmolality, according to badvibes.org, which is published by Smitten Kitten, they talk about sex toys, they talk about lube, they talk about all this stuff, right? Osmolality is the definition that they give here is the measure of dissolved particles per unit of water in a solution or serum, or the concentration, right? It's sometimes called. So it's how much of ingredients are how much ingredients to water is there in this lube, right. And it's important to pay attention to because depending on the skin cells or the mucous membranes want to maintain homeostasis, right? Where the osmolality inside the cell is the same outside the cell.
Outside, right.
Right. And so if you put something that has the wrong osmolality on your mucous membranes, it's gonna screw with your cells, right? If you put on something that's hyperosmotic, that has higher osmolality than your cells, then the cells are going to get rid of water, which can, in the worst cases, cause cell death due to dehydration. Not surprisingly, the cells on your mucous membranes dying is going to be painful, right? It's going to cause problems in your mucous membrane and can leave you open to infections or to bacteria. In fact, there have been some studies done that have shown that using a hyperosmotic lube, which KY and KY is the other one, KY and Astroglide are both really, really hyperosmotic, which means that they will cause this, right? Like the cells will get rid of water and can die and can be damaged due to dehydration, leaving people open to infections. There was a study shown, I got this information from the Sex Gets Real episode where with the creator of Good Clean Love, which is one of the lubes that you can get that is extremely good, has extremely good osmolality. But the creator of this came on Good Clean Love and was citing a study that I need to look up that said that a single use of Astroglide or KY jelly, which are both commonly used in doctor's offices, by the way, a single use of those can increase susceptibility to infection by like 60% for several weeks after the fact.
No bueno.
Yeah, right? If you're constantly using these kinds of lubes that are causing this irritation and this problem, you're leaving yourself open to infections, including STIs, right? These are huge problems. Something that's hypoosmotic, which is way less common to find lube that's hypoosmotic, is going to pull water out of the lube into the cells of the body, and can, in extreme cases, can cause the cells to burst because they have too much water in them, but that's extremely uncommon to find a lube that will do that. What you want is something that's isoosmotic, that means that it's equal in the lube and in the cells. And there's only a few that fall in there. Good Clean Love is one of them. Most of Sliquid stuff is good for that. It's getting more and more common to find them. I think System Joe is good for that too. There's a lot that have been coming on the market in the last few years as people start paying attention to it. But the short version of that story is, if you have to buy your lube from the drugstore, right? If you're going to go to Walgreens or Kroger or Walmart and buy yourself some lube, buy Good Clean Love. Comes in a green tube. It's the only one that's available widely that is not going to screw you up. Basically. That's the one that's not going to screw you up. Go ahead.
I would say that's the one that's not going to fuck you.
Yes. Lol. And the pH range is good too for vaginal pH on that one. It's within the range of what's gonna be what's gonna work with vaginal pH. There's a lot of other ingredients that are worth paying attention to. I'm not going to go into them because we are running kind of long today.
Like every day.
Yes, we're running right up to where we need to be. But I'm going to link it in the comments. Check out badvibes.org. They have a whole guide. They go into a lot more of the detail of the kinds of ingredients that are commonly found in lubes, the kinds of effects that those can have, is water-based lubes in particular, the kinds of effects that those can have on the body rather. What I'm going to say as far as specific recommendations is, first off, for water-based lube, Good Clean Love is a really good option. It's easily available. It's not terribly expensive. You don't actually need a lot of lube, really. Like, this is not gonna be something that you need to purchase weekly unless you're having a whole lot of sex, in which case, good for you. Well done. But it's worth it, right? This is something that is important to your health, right? Having sex without enough lube whether it's naturally occurring lube in the vagina, or like needing lube for parts of your body that don't produce lube naturally, like during anal sex. Like, using enough lube it's a health issue, right? Not having enough lube provides will result in irritation, can result in tears, which anything like that makes you more susceptible to infection, makes you more susceptible to various kinds of problems. So use enough lube. But so Good Clean Love is a good option. If you have access to a sex store, Sliquid is my go-to. I love their stuff. They're fantastic. Sassy is my favorite for anal. It's nice and thick. If you need a water-based lube for anal, it's thick. It stays in place. It's kind of like a gel almost, which is nice. So that's my go-to there. System Joe is okay, but I like their lubes, but I'm kind of moving away from them because they've started branching out into a lot of stuff that doesn't seem super necessary to me. Like, they have a whole thing now where they've got like the warming lube and the cooling lube and the like sensitizing lube and the desensitizing lube for anal, which, guys, don't use desensitizing lube for anal. Just don't.
I think it defeats the purpose.
Yeah, right. Like they say that the point is to reduce pain. If you have pain during anal, like, there's a reason for that, and you should stop. Like, if it hurts a lot, it's because you're going too fast. That's what I'm saying, right? If it's like, it's especially your first time, like, if you might expect a little bit of discomfort, but you should be able to relax and go through it and breathe and go a little bit slower, and you should not have pain. It should not hurt. It might feel weird, but it shouldn't hurt. So don't use desensitizing lube. Also, any of these lubes that do other stuff, like sensitizing, desensitizing, warming, cooling, blah, 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 those chemicals can do weird things to your body. I used a warming lube one time, and oh my God, I wanted to die. It hurt so bad. It was not fun.
Like icy hot on your bits.
Exactly. I was like, no, why did I put this on my body? This was dumb. Right? So I'm going to recommend that you stay clear of those. Probably don't do that.
Side note, fire and ice condoms, same concept. Do not get those.
Don't get those. Don't do it. Just don't. So my number one recommendation, especially for water-based lube, though, is Sliquid. Love Sliquid. They're great. The Sassy, like I said, is thick. They've got a couple Sliquid C, SEA, is really good. They have really good lubes. Also, if you're into flavored lube, they have flavored lubes. I have had issues with them as somebody who has really sensitive, like, flora in my body. I've had issues with them with yeast infections and stuff, but they don't use glycerin in their flavored lubes. So if you know that you want a flavored lube and you will know that glycerin is an issue for you, you might try that. Also, they taste really good, FYI. They have lots of flavors and they all taste really good. For silicone lube, as long as you're getting it from a reputable source, you're probably good for whatever. Sliquid silicone lube called Silver is okay. The System Joe's silicone lube is good. My favorite is kind of pricey, but it's Uber Lube. Comes in a fancy glass bottle. It's amazing. It's amazing. I love it. That's what I'm switching back to. I've been using System Joe for a while, but I have issues with all of their other products, and it's annoying me. So I'm going to go back to Uber Lube, even though it's a little bit more expensive. But I definitely recommend, if you know that you have the kind of sex that requires lube, or you would like to try it. Like, I recommend having a good water-based and a good silicone lube on hand. It's just more versatile. You can use it. Like, they serve different purposes, right? Water-based lube is great for if you're using silicone toys. that you want to make sure that you're not going to damage those. Water-based lube or silicone lube lasts longer. I actually really like silicone lube for anal sex because it does last longer and you don't have to reapply it as many times. Water-based lube does have a tendency to dry out and get sticky a little bit, so you have to re-up it because the water evaporates out of it. So you have to re-up it by adding more lube or adding a little bit of water to it. But anyway, questions. Keem, do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions, but I did want to add. Did want to add something.
I feel like this is just a lot of me talking.
So, for a lot of guys, straight guys like myself, I know that lube could be a hot button, one of those hot button topics. It is okay to use lube. It is okay because I've heard it from a lot of guys and actually a lot of women too, who are against using lube because they say natural lubrication should be enough, and if it's not enough, then something is wrong. That is not true. That's
not true.
That is not true at all. Sometimes you just don't produce enough natural lubrication for the kind of sex you're having.
I'm particularly bad about that. My natural lube production facilities are very susceptible to hormonal changes. Right?
It doesn't mean you want sex less. It doesn't mean there's something wrong with you or your partner.
It doesn't?
No. It just means you're not you or them. They just don't produce the amount of natural lubrication that you guys might need.
And there's many things that can play into that. Like I said, hormonal changes can play into that. Like hydration levels play into that.
Using lube, it's fine. It's spectacular. Also, if you're somebody like me, and Esmé can attest to this, sometimes I like to go for long periods of time.
Yes.
And, some people, the human body is not meant to go for that long. It's just not. And things are going to start to get a little dry. Lube helps that. Helps that a lot.
In fact, it's kind of what it's designed for.
So, yes, straight guys especially. And to the women, to anyone who has the stigma on using lube and lubrication, there is nothing wrong with lube. There is nothing wrong with you using lube.
Just like everything else that I've talked about on this show so far, lube is just a tool to help you have the sex that you want.
And don't you want the sex that you want?
Yeah, it's sort of there in the name.
Kind of the thing.
Thanks, Keane.
Don't you want the sex? That should be the topic. I mean, that should be the catchphrase of your sex segment. Don't you want the sex that you want?
Oh. Anyway, so lube, guys, use lube. Use lube. I'm gonna put in some resources in the comments for Smitten Kitten and badvibes.org, where you can go in and look at different ingredients in these lubes, look at different kinds of lube, and be aware of what's going in the stuff that you put on your body. It's important.
Right.
It's important for your health. But yeah, I think that's all that I have to say about lube today.
All right. I guess with that, we're going to be ending the sex segment and bringing it close to our show for the week. Special thanks again to Jad for the interview and the music. like I said, I was pretty taken aback, and I liked it. So keep it up. I definitely enjoyed it. Also, as every week, special thanks to the Living Room Leftists for all the music they provide, our opening and closing.
Yay!
As always, links will be in the description for all the things we mentioned. Coming up, we're still looking for artists, as always, to have the music featured on the show.
Yep.
If you like what you hear and you got something that you would like to share, please contact us. We will love to share your music. Also, we are still looking for questions for our Q&A episode on the 20th of August. We only have a few weeks left for that. So if you have questions for us, whatever they may be, please give them to us. We are waiting to hear what you got.
Go on our Facebook page, send us a message. We'll compile them that way. So send us a message, please. We want to answer your questions. We love talking about ourselves.
Let's see. Is there anything? What else I need to mention? Oh, we are working. We got some interesting shows coming up soon. Besides the Q&A, we're hopefully going to be talking to someone from the Christian transhumanist movement, which should be a very interesting conversation. And we hope we should be speaking to them soon. Also, I will, as I've said multiple times, I will be moving to Brooklyn here in the next 2.5 weeks. And I'm still trying to get together the money to make my move. And I currently have a $1,000 security deposit to pay. Which kind of puts a hamper on things. So I have a GoFundMe page set up. I've shared it before. I'm going to share it again with this with the episode. If anyone knows someone who is willing to help, even the smallest help is means the world. I am very grateful, and just trying to get where I need to go. Trying to get. Finally, after years trying to get to law school, this podcast has been a big part of my vision of where I want to be and what I want to do to help the world. And law school is the other part of that big vision. Mm-hmm. And I am very much in need of help achieving that. So anything, if you can't donate, if you share it, anything is a real help, and I thank all of you just for listening. And I want to say a special appreciation to our listeners, those who listen every week. There's not a lot of you, but hey, quality over quantity every time. Mm-hmm. You guys are spectacular, and we appreciate you listening week in, week out. We appreciate you sharing. You're awesome. Anyway, is there anything else that I'm forgetting here?
I don't think so.
Well, yes. So there's one last thing. Esmé and I are working on little side miniseries that will be up from time to time. The first episode of mine, which is titled But I Digress, is actually up on our Facebook page and on YouTube now. It's just a little, I think it's 10-minute mini-sode that has me ranting about R. Kelly and why the black community in general needs to stop supporting his crazy ass. So if you like hearing me rant about stuff and being even more ridiculous than normal, check out But I Digress, and Esmé's little side series will hopefully be in the works soon.
I'm waiting until we get a Patreon. I'm not giving away that shit for free. What are you talking about?
See, look, I've lived life on the streets, and any of the dealers will let you know you gotta let them get a little taste first.
Their little taste is in this podcast.
The first taste is free, and then you make them pay for the goodies.
Whatever. I bet Chris Watson will pay to hear my rant about the Pina Colada song.
I'm sure he will.
I bet you he will.
And speaking of which, we hopefully will have a Patreon up soon where we will be having more exclusive content, like the side series,
and the
extended artist interviews.
The full artist interviews.
Hopefully some other things, but coming soon. We got big things happening in the future. Stay tuned. And with all that, I think we should end the show.
Yes.
This has been episode 26 of the Outer Voices podcast with Keem and Esmé, and we are out.
But there are these things that matter, and they really fucking matter. There's like 4 things that matter, and they really fucking matter. I mean, objectively, I mean, you should care, especially you, if you thought about it for 5 fucking minutes.